Hey guys, Concoction Boofer here, and today I wanted to do like a follow-up video to my last video. I want to talk about PConC because I've been playing over the past like 4 or 5 days, and I think this build is not even my particular version. I think Poison Concoction is like an incredibly budget-friendly build and has just obscene damage with pretty much no budget at all. I'm gonna get right into it. Look at the show notes if you want to skip around the video because I want to talk about leveling. I want to talk about gearing, and I want to talk about like weird quirks of the build and like clear issues, etc., etc. If you want to just see the mapping, skip to the very end. I have that initially on the front, but mapping in PoE 2 has so much backtracking that I just shifted it to the end. Anyways, like I said, I do think that is the weakest part of the build, where bossing is by far the strongest. So, okay, the way I leveled was I pretty much leveled with Widow Hail from level 1 until, well, currently still going on. I would just get one with 220% quiver effect. That's very important. 220% or higher. And then you don't need 3 sockets. 2 is fine. Just add lightning damage to both. If you corrupt it and you get another, just add another one. But when you like the tree, you want to do is I would come through the projectile damage nodes all the way through here, and then through the quiver effect nodes, and then you can start working on either the poison stuff or come through here through the flash charges and pick up all this move speed. Like until like level 18 or 20, you're just going to do like lightning arrow, and then I was using like a salvo for or the cold salvo skill for single target, but you can use like pretty much whatever you want. Honestly, like the damage is going to be fine as long as you have a decent quiver. Can you have a decent amount of flat already from your bow? The quiver mods you care about, level 1 to 3, it just doesn't matter. Literally use anything you can. But when you get to level, like you want one at level 4 plus, you're going to want one with increased damage to bow skills, and then some combination of flats. The other stuff is just nice to have, like attack speed, dex, or all, that stuff doesn't really matter. When you switch to Poison Concoction at like level 15 to 20, you're going to want one with increased damage to bow skills, because this is currently bugged as far as I'm aware, and it affects the Poison's Concoction damage. It should definitely not do that. Literally nothing in the bow affects Poison's Concoction damage, so this shouldn't work. But yeah, anyways, it does. So while it exists, I would definitely recommend getting this mod. And then you're going to want plus levels to projectile skills. That's from like 15 to 32. At level 32, you are going to want plus 2 to projectile skills. This is wrong. It is literally level 32. And then increased damage to bow skills, with the other mods being nice to have. Like, don't care about the quiver base, because the bases at this level suck. They don't matter until like level 65. Gear-wise, you are going to want to put on Foxshade at level 1. Just a ton of move speed, ton of evasion, great leveling unique. And then Meganord's Girdle. This isn't really going to matter until you switch to PConC at like level 18 to 20. The flash charge sustain is going to be really nice. And then you're going to want to get a mana flask with gain X charges per second. You can get like 0.15 or 0.2. Do not get it with this mod. This increased mana recovery remove from life. This will make it so your life flask charges run out in boss fights. And then I was using Plague Finger from like level 1 till like level 65 or whatever. Just because it makes you more open to like these flat mods are all good for you if you're doing this when you're leveling, because it'll make it so all these mods, like any elemental damage, will let you poison as well. Links, when you're playing with Poison Concoction, I was using Scatter Shot and Bursting Plague like always. For single target, if you're struggling, which will be like level 15 to 32, you might be struggling, but realistically, if you are, you probably just need a better quiver. But I would drop Bursting Plague for Chaos Infusion if you are not using Plague Finger. If you are using Plague Finger, you probably want to use literally any of the other infusions, because all this damage can poison, and yeah, Chaos Infusion is going to hurt your LE damage if you have a quiver with like a bunch of flats, like this one that I was leveling with. When you get to level 32, you will probably literally never have a damage issue ever again. I started one-shotting bosses at level 32, and that continued until, well, now. Pretty much the only boss that I don't one-shot is like pinnacle content. Like when I got my last 2 ascendancy points, I was doing like 2 or 3 million damage per second, which is not incredible, but I haven't spent a lot on this build, and I'm pretty much all defense, so it's pretty crazy to me. But it'll obviously get much higher with better gear. At level 32, you can get a +2 Proj Quiver, and you get a +2 Amulet. I would get both. And at that point, your damage should be ridiculous, and you should have no issues. I literally spent the first 35 skill points, and then I did not spend, I think, the remaining 30 until well into maps, because it just never felt like it mattered. So I can't exactly recommend what tree to take because I didn't really use a tree. I literally just took this generic damage over here. I pathed up through here. I was life initially, by the way. I would definitely not recommend starting to CI. Don't switch to that until you have a ton of gear, if you switch to it at all. And then I came up to here to get the +1 poison. These mods are very important. There's another one down here. But yeah, I would definitely try to get all that stuff. And then you can pretty much not take any of the crit nodes until you don't have to switch early at all. You can't realistically switch until level 55 when you get Ire Winner. Otherwise, you are just not going to have, because Poison Concoction has a base 5 crit. It's just not going to crit like ever. So don't take the crit nodes until you get to here. I didn't switch till crit until level 65 because at level 65 you can get a quiver with the crit implicit, this crit chance implicit, right? So I would, at that point, I would look for a quiver with the crit implicit, crit bonus damage for attack damage, and then increased damage with both skills, as those are like the mandatory mods. Crit bonus for attack damage is, or damage with both skills is the most important, followed by crit bonus for attack damage, and then the other stuff is nice to have. Like, you definitely need the +2 to prod skills, increased damage with both skills. Like, you need, like, yeah, maybe it's easier if I just showcase here. You definitely need you need this. It doesn't need to be high tier. You can get like a low one like this, right? If you can get a budget one. But then you want +2 to prod skills, and then try to get one with this as well. But then those 3 mods on a good quiver base, ideally either attack speed or crit chance for attacks. Crit chance for attacks is pretty nice because we don't have a ton of crit chance in general. We have a ton of multi. We still have a ton of attacks, or like actual crit chance. And then the remaining mods, it would be nice to have either accuracy, additional flats if you are using Plague Fingers, because otherwise physical damage to attacks affects your damage. It's just not very helpful. But the next most important, like the 4th mod after bonus plus damage of both skills, is going to be crit chance for attacks and attack speed. The remaining stuff that's nice is dexterity, accuracy, and then flats, like I was mentioning. That's pretty much it, though. The other stuff is like definitely, you really just need the 3 mods. That's pretty much it for leveling. The order, you obviously take Poison Concoction first. My second trial, I did it in Act 3. I got the +6 skill points. And then when I did my 3rd Ascendancy, I think I did it around level 70, maybe 75, I can't remember. But I undid these, and you'll need to have 6 unspent points to do that. And then I took these nodes. Before you have this contagious contamination, you are going to want to use Herald of the Plague to help your clear. Bursting Plague helps as well, but you really need Prolift because Poison Concoction is not very big, and this part of the tree does not have any AoE really. Like all the AoEs like on this part of the tree, like by a Titan and like Duelist or whatever. So you really do want that Prolift. So I use this as my, like the second I got Spirit, I was using this. I think that's pretty much it for leveling. Trying to think if there's anything else. Like I would say, just stay life. Don't switch to CI. Pretty much either go high. Like I went hybrid with Ghost Dance relatively early. You just need to get a helmet with like a lot of ES, not like one that's crazy high level, but you can also go hybrid early with Ghost Wraith if you want to do that, or it's Yuri's Disdain. All right, talking about gearing. So elephant in the room. Yes, this is a Pathfinder CI build. I think, and this is very unfortunate to say, I think in the current state of PoE, if you can get to CI, I think it is mostly a mistake to not take CI. I hate that that's true. And yeah, I think they really need to fix that because it's very boring. But the reality is your character, if you are not CI, is going to be squishy. That just is what it is. If you want to be Queen of the Forest with the Decompose boots, which I would definitely recommend if you have the budget to do so, is better to just go hybrid because it's going to be really hard to go CI and something like that. But that's just like you give up the defense for like having like way better clear. I would use that if I could afford it. I'm pretty poor. I don't have the Queen of Forest right now is like 12 exalts or not 12 exalts, 12 divines. I think I have like 3 divines tops to my name, and I've spent way less than that on this build, like maybe 50 or 60. But it's mostly just getting defenses. The thing is though, if you can't afford that stuff, the damage on PConC with combination of Eye of Winter and just like having a decent quiver, like this is where most of your budget should go, honestly. You're not really going to have a damage issue kind of like no matter what you do. So I kind of dumped everything into defense. Like I do have like all the +1 poison clusters on the tree that I can get. And then I have this, which means that you get a ton of evasion from a really high ES helmet, like as you can see. I know it's crazy. It literally doubles my evasion. And then I have just a really fat ES chest that I also spent, I think, like 3 exalts on maybe, and probably similar amount on this. I was initially using Plague Finger over Snake Bites, which lets all of your damage poison. I did end up switching off of them because, well, with increased damage to bow skills, like working with Poison Concoction, like Bugged or whatever, it made even less room for flat LE damage rolls, which means it doesn't really make a ton of sense to use Plague Finger. You can also just use like a decent pair like of rares, like I was using. Like initially, I was just using like high ES gloves. But if you're hybrid, you can do you know, just like high life. Like I would recommend going like hybrid early with Ghost Dance before you go to CI, because like the problem is like once you switch to CI, you do need to solve a bunch of problems. Like I still haven't solved my ailment threshold problem, which means I get frozen and shocked relatively easily. But you need to get like stun avoidance, because your stun threshold is initially based off your life. That's like why my gear has a random stun threshold, like where I can get it. Like I have it in my boots, I have it in my belt. And then I take this for stun threshold. Initially, I was taking this node as well, since we're always on full life. That's additional stun threshold. But I also have that on jewels, like gain X. This jewel is ridiculous. I can't believe I got this jewel for like 3 exalts. But anyways, yeah. So you need to get stun threshold if you go CI, which means you can put that off if you want, because it is annoying to have to gear. And then you also run into a problem of you have much worse sustain when you switch to energy shield, which you're thinking like, oh, you could fix that with Shavronne Satchel. But the problem is, I don't think this item is bugged, and I think it is working as intended. So what happened and why this item sucks, by the way, is in PoE 1, you can have mods on your life flask, like remove bleeding, remove shock, all that stuff, which means that you can always use them whether you have full life or not. I can't actually use this right now, and there's no way to use this on full life because I always have full life because I am CI. So the only way to actually use this and like actually have Satchel recover my life would be to have a flask with the instant mod. The problem with that is this is the only part of the life flask that is going to heal your ES, and that is an atrocious amount, right? Like that's 460 ES. You know, that's like 10% of my life. That doesn't help at all. The way you can like still kind of get around it. You can't get around it with CI. It is what it is. It's just like this item is terrible with CI. The way you can get around it is you can technically not go CI and then use something like that sacrifices your life, like extraction. So if you have like missing life, the life flask will heal your ES while you have life to heal. The problem is the second your life is full, it stops healing your ES. So it's pretty difficult to actually take use of. Like this belt is just bad right now. So there's like a few. They could potentially change it to allow it to work. Like it wasn't even working, and I think this part is bugged. It wasn't even working with this enduring mod, but it might also not be a bug because, I mean, technically you can't click a life flask on full life in PoE 1 if it doesn't have a mod that lets you use it, like to remove bleeding or shock or whatever. And since those mods got removed in PoE 2, you can never click this unless you have taken damage, which means you do need to use something that like sacrifices your life. It's not going to sacrifice my life because I'm CI, but if I did have life, it would have sacrificed 10% and it would have let me use it. So yeah, it kind of sucks right now. I hope they either fix it or add mods that allow you to actually take advantage of it. But right now, I think this is like mostly a trap. At least, I don't know. At least if you're energy shield, which in the current state of balance, I think you should be. So, kind of is what it is. Anyways, so yeah, I like, long story short, I'm scaling stuff like faster start of energy shield recharge. I'm trying to get that on jewels where I can, and all that stuff. I also have Ghost Dance, which is, you know, when I get hit, I recover ES equal to 5% of my evasion rating. My last video I talked about fast forward as like a way to scale the interval of how fast these shrouds recover. One anti-synergy with that is we do pick up duration here, but it's so much damage for picking up all this poison duration, I still think it's worth it. But, you know, long story short, that part kind of sucks. One thing that I think is really like powerful about the poison builds in general, and I guess just ailment builds, is you have access to, especially if you're crit, you have access to a crazy amount of good damage mods. Like if I just quickly show you guys. So magnitude, this mod right here, up to 20% magnitude, that is a ton, because if you see like the minor, like these nodes, which are good nodes, are like 10%, and then there's like really big amounts on, like as on notables, like 30% right here, and then I think there's, see, you reduce it here to get the plus. There, yeah, it's not really a ton. There's like a 30% ailment one down at the bottom, but so you can get 20% on a jewel, and then you can also get, was it magnitude of poisons you inflict? So if you get both of those mods, you get like 40% on a jewel, which is like ridiculous, because that's like, that's better than any notable. And yeah, long story short, it's crazy. But you can also get critical hit chance for attacks and critical bonus, which is just like crit multi. Yeah, so if you get like these 3 combinations of jewels, it'll be worth so many points. So like the jewel sockets are incredibly powerful. And then what's weird about this mod is it's actually at its max value on these transforming jewels. See where this says this goes up to 20%. Usually the notable values on these like get lowered. Like the quiver effect one goes to from 15% to 7%. This one just stays 20 for some reason. So that means I'm getting 60% magnitude of damaging ailments from just like, you know, these 3 notables, which are all good nodes. Like I literally want to take all these anyway. One downside, which this is not a bug, this is a change in PoE 2 how energy shield recovery works. This mod, where it says lose 3% of life and energy shield when you use a chaos skill, if you guys will notice, they changed ES recharge in PoE 2. So it says, or sorry, if you don't lose energy shield for a short time. It doesn't say if you've been hit. So like anything that sacrifices energy shield, like that mod, means that like when I had this node, I was like, man, why is my ES never full? I found out that this makes it so anytime I'd use poison concoction, I'd have to wait for my recharge to come back. So I could like, I'd have to stop attacking. Despair would do it too, because it's also a chaos skill. So initially I was like, dude, this jewel is like broken, because these nodes are all really good, right? And if this didn't have that lose whatever mod, or even if it did and it didn't affect ES recharge like I initially thought, I would have 100 ailment to magnitude right here, which is literally more than I have on the rest of my tree by a lot. So if this node didn't do that, it didn't stop ES recharge, this would be like such a ridiculously busted spot for this kind of jewel. So yeah, anyways, you don't need this upgrade radius to medium. That just, it happens to have that. But yeah, like poison duration, crit, ailment magnitude, and then like once you switch to energy shield, you're going to be looking for like increased maximum energy shield, and then like a gain energy shield as additional stun threshold. That's assuming you like switch to CI and stuff. But the other thing that was like really interesting before I switched to CI is what I was doing was I was hybrid, right? But the cool thing about that is, I don't know if you guys will notice, you don't actually use your mana with poison concoction, right? So are you thinking what I'm thinking? It's like, it's pretty powerful, because I was getting mana on all, I don't have like, I have a really low mana because I don't have mana on my gear anymore. But initially I had mana all over my gear, so I had like 1500 mana. And since we don't spend our mana outside of like single target when we do like stuff like, you know, like Eye Winter and Bone Storm and Despair and all that stuff, I was just taking these nodes. Like these, so we had a 16% mom here, like which is 16% of this, where damage is taken from mana before our life pool. And I had jewels that had the same effect. I had 2 jewels with the same effect right here, like damage taken. So like I had 20% of damage taken from before my life and mana, which is really strong, because once you split your damage, like especially if you do this, right? So if you're using Itziri's Disdain, which I don't know how much it helps a ton, because it's really powerful, but it makes this mod really bad, which really hurts your evasion, so it's kind of rough to actually use. But so like let's say you're using this, you are splitting your like when you take damage from a hit, you are going to take some damage to your life, some damage to your ES, and some damage to your mana. And what that means is, since it splits it across those 3 things, if you have recovery affecting all of those, that means that it's just going to make your hit pool just like ridiculously high, like way higher than you would think. So I don't know. It's really powerful defensive layer, and I don't know if it's being like very utilized, but But yeah, if you can like not if you're not using your mana pool and you get mana on your gear, and then you get like a bunch of ES from this, because this alone just like I think this actually increases my ES if anything, which is kind of funny. Yeah, it does very slightly. But you can also do something like Ghost Wraith. The problem with Ghost Wraith is you don't actually want to use. You can't use this helmet because it'll kill you if you're CI. Like because all some like 27% of your damage will just hit your life and then you'll die. But it's either or you get to use. But if you get to use this kind of stuff, like if you do this, and like let me undo this so it show you. And then I don't have any life in my gear, so I'd probably have like 1,000 if I had like life elsewhere. But if you split your damage like this, you're also pretty tanky. Not necessarily sure that I don't know. It's weird because it's like there is some combination that you can do. Like there's a ton of different things you can actually do between being CI, between taking damage from your mana pool before your life. Like you can have like this crazy dense hit pool that you recover in different ways. Like your belt slot on this build, until you have like the really crazy one that affects your ring slots, like really sucks because you can't get life on it, but you can get mana on it. And if you have something like this, since like I said, you don't really need the mana recovery because your damage, or like the flash charges because your damage is just so high, that's not going to come up. But you have this, it's going to recoup your mana. And that's like, I don't know, there's like a lot of good ways. And then when you're hit, you recoup some mana, you'll recoup some, or not recoup, you'll regain some energy shield from your Ghost Shrouds. And yeah, I don't know, it's pretty cool. There's like a lot of different stuff you can do. Like that's why I was like life for a while, because I was, man, you can't take this mom from me, because it just felt so good. Like I felt immortal. I still feel immortal now, but just, because my hit pool's so big, which is a little less cool. What's fucked up is I am still considering traveling all the way over to Mom. I know the travel is ridiculous, but like I said, the jewel sockets on this build are so good. Like you have so many mods that are just going to be like either give you a ton of defense and like 20% more damage, that like jewel sockets are way better than any node on the tree for you anyway. So it's not that unreasonable to do this. The travel is crazy, and I need to be much higher level before I do it. But if there was an item that gave you Mind Over Matter, like Cloak of Defiance from PoE 1, you would definitely use it, because I mean, if you're building it in this way, because it's like you just would be so tanky. I don't know. It just sounds cool to me. Like you have this like triple hit pool that just like mitigates your damage. Once this gets fixed, you can like be hybrid a lot easier, I think, too, because you just sustain both. But right now it's very bad at sustaining your ES. So hopefully that gets fixed. Yeah. So talking about like defenses, I can talk about like offense, but there's really not a ton to it. I think because I mostly touched on it, is like you want the maximum stack of poisons on the tree, which is additional 2, so you'll have 3. And then you can potentially use snake bites if you still feel like you need the damage, which will jump that to 4. The reason this is really nice is because it gets doubled by Pathfinder, so you go up to 8. You can technically use get another one with Comorbidity, but this actually hurts your damage for the most part once you have this many stacks of poisons, because you're literally, I think the math works out that this will never really be more damage unless you're attacking very fastly, which you can, so maybe, but I still don't think it's actually worth a link, because you could just use another link that's more damage without destroying your duration even further. For what it's worth, less poison duration, which you get from Pathfinder Ascendancy, does not show in game. So my poison duration here says that it is 3.8, but it's actually 2.6. Reduced duration does work. It does affect the tooltip or whatever, but the actual ascendancy, it does not. The less multipliers do not. Like the same for like Comorbidity is not going to show the downside to this. It's just going to look like great, right? But it is very real that less duration is a huge damage, like less damage multiplier. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like you want to take crit. Like I'm still unsure if I like this pathing I have here. I liked it way more when I had this, because like I was saying, that jewel socket here is just so ridiculous. But there's also like this wheel is just insanity for crit, because like look at this, 15 multi, 50 multi, 35 multi, 20 multi, and then base crit. So I don't know. And then this is just like, this is actually really high value for crit chance as well. But yeah, I like this because it's just like it gives me so much like pathing, like to get evasion and ES like coming this way. But the other thing too is we don't really need more crit multi pathing on the tree because you literally path by like I have there's 30 here I'm not taking, there's 30 here I'm not taking, there's 30. Okay, I know there's 30 here. Yes, 30 here I'm not taking. Yeah, so there's plenty. Like multi is like we are not lacking. I would like to get this because this is like about 20% more damage or so, but you know it is not directly on our path, so you could take it if you need more damage. But again, I think defenses are like the priority here. I would say like that and movement speed, and then potentially AoE. The problem is there's no AoE for you to take. You'd have to get it on jewel sockets, which you can. It's just the jewel socket mods are so valuable for us, so it's pretty tough. Now, I think that's like mostly it for gearing, because the other thing, I guess I should say, like my gear is like relatively cheap, but if you do go CI, there's not very many good prefixes for you. It's literally increased like chaos damage and then evasion and accuracy. I have like evasion I value pretty highly on like the prefixes on like things like rings. I'd get it on belt if you could, but the thing is like you can't like the life doesn't matter for you while you're actually CI. And so the only other mod is mana, which also doesn't matter for you because I don't know if you guys know this. You can't go like partial mind over matter stuff with energy shield because all of your energy shield have to be depleted before it actually gets redirected to your mana. And any amount of damage you take to your life is going to kill you. So this literally does nothing once you're CI. You have to now where that is different is when you are actually mind over matter. Like if you are mind over matter, once your energy shield's depleted, it will all go to your mana. So you could still do that once you're CI, but you can't do like a partial mind over matter like you can if you're like hybrid life ES. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything else that like really matters. Like just enough accuracy so that you actually hit, and then resistances. Like that's pretty much all the gear I have. And then obviously, like I said, like try to dump all of your money you can into your quiver. That is literally your most important thing on this build. And then just like try to get like a 600 plus ES chest and a 300 plus ES like helmet. And then I would definitely anoint, if you go CI, I would definitely anoint the stun threshold because it is very important. That's why I have it on literally all of my jewels I can. So yeah, because getting stunned constantly feels terrible. And try to get the flat, like I said, like on your belt and here, all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's mostly it for the gear. I can talk about like the boss rotation I have, which is pretty straightforward, honestly, because I really don't use most of it. So I kind of don't like I could recommend just like not doing this. Like curses in this game are just so annoying that like, but it is so much damage. I think this is at least 50% more damage. It's probably more than that, honestly. But the real rotation, like anytime I'm killing rares, oh yeah, see, as you can see, this actually sacrifices my life. But I take CI back. But so my rotation, like when I find a rare, is I literally just Eye of Winter into Poison Concoction. If it's a boss, I usually do this, and then I'll just like do this to get a few of these, Eye of Winter, and then Poison Concoction. But you really don't need to Bone Storm, and I destroyed my mana sustain because my stuff costs way too much mana. But really, you just need Eye of Winter, Despair, and Concoction. You don't even need the Despair. It's just it is a shit ton of damage. Bone Storm, I think, might cost too much mana to actually be practical with how my tree is currently set up. But on your Eye of Winter, you do want to have, where is he? So you want to have Withering Touch, but with that means you need to get, Withering Touch in this game only gets applied if you deal Chaos damage with the hit that has Withering Touch on it. So you need to get Chaos damage, which you can get from either here, Pure Chaos, or you can get from a Ming's Heart, which I would definitely use, especially once you're CI, because 20% reduced defenses. It just means 20% reduced evasion in ES, which really would not hurt my damage. I would go down to like 5100 ES or something, or 52, which is not a big deal, and it gives me like 40% more damage. So, but that also has the added benefit of it would give Chaos as extra to Eye of Winter, so you wouldn't need to use Extraction. The nice thing about using Extraction on CI is there's no downside. It doesn't actually sacrifice life because 10% of one, it rounds down, well, it only rounds if it's over 50%, so it doesn't actually deal anything. This would have to sack 60% for it to actually do anything if you have one life. So I don't think you need Unleash, but it just makes it easier with aiming so that, like, because you usually get about 10 stacks with just one, but you can, like, be a little bit lazier with this, especially with the game auto-targeting being super annoying. I've kind of liked Unleash. And then if you use Unleash, you need to use Inspiration, so it kind of sucks. But yeah, because like if I just do this, like as you can see, the mana cost is like super low. It's like that's pretty reasonable, right? So you only really need a 4 link. Like I said, I'm just partial to Unleash. And then the remaining stuff is just like I have Wind Dancer. These links don't really matter. It's just when the attack goes off, you might as well have Blind and Maim. No reason not to. Ghost Dance Fast Forward to make it call off faster. And then I have Clarity somewhere just to help with my mana sustain because these skills are crazy expensive, especially when you do not have a lot of mana. Like this is literally a third of my mana pool. Curses cost a crazy amount. I should probably drop Heightened Curse to lower the cost because that would be more reasonable. It's just the problem is if you do that, the AoE sucks and then they run out of it. Like I said, curses are really annoying in this game. But I also have Leap Slam and Shield Charge on my weapon swap. Shield Charge, like when there's like long periods of nothing, you get a lot of move speed out of it, and you like use you can use a roll at the end to like animation cancel the recovery, which is a little bit faster. And then if you get stuck and you need to leap over something, Leap Slam is nice. Like I said, it's pretty annoying because Poison Concoction you can't assign to a weapon set, so you actually have to press another skill that's just assigned to like your front bar. Like I Winner, Despair, whatever, which I do, or you can just press the weapon swap button. I have no strength in this build. What you'll notice is I have strength on both of my offhand stuff. Like I have like 75 strength with these on. So that means that, because Leap Slams and Shield Charge are like 52 strength. So you just need to meet the strength requirements on the items in these. And the stats in these don't matter. You just need enough strength so that you can actually use them. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for like the skill setup. Yeah, so the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on, and I'll cover this like in the mapping part of this, was the clear being like so-so on this build. I tried a lot of stuff to fix it. I think it's ended up being just okay, but it's never going to be great without using the Decompose boots. With the Decompose boots, it is very good. Like I'd say the clear is very good. The problem is, without Queen of the Forest, these boots have literally 10% move speed. And that would, we have all the movement speed we can access on the tree, and we are only at 43. So we would be down to 23, which would feel like a fucking crawl. Now, if you're doing like, the thing is like, I tried without Queen of the Forest, and it was helping my clear speed specifically in Breach. But when I wasn't in Breach, which is the vast majority of the map, I was literally slower. I would clear a little bit faster, but I would literally, especially with backtracking, it was just so painful to have just no movement speed. So I would eventually recommend like switching to the Queen of Forest like Decompose setup, but just before it, I don't think it's worth it. Now, what was I gonna say? The other things I like tried was like, so obviously we're using Bursting Plague now, and then we have Prolift from our Ascendancy. We had it from Herald of Plague earlier. I tried the ring like I was talking about, where it says like all of your damage can chill, and then using Herald of Ice, and then I was using like Cold Infusion on my attack, like etc. And I was using Plague Finger at the time because I wanted to, actually shatter everything. Like I didn't want to deal enough cold damage, and then my cold damage to actually contribute to our poison. That mostly felt like it was an aesthetic. It looked really fucking cool because we were, like Poison Concoction does like a lot of hit damage, so we were shattering everything we were hitting. And I was even taking like additional stuff like Essence of the Mountain to make it easier because like this was scaling our poison, so we were using Plague Finger. But the problem is like even when I was using this quiver over here, this one which had a ton of flat on it, Herald of Ice still was like dealing like less than 1,000 damage, and which is funny because in PoE 1 the problem is Herald of Ice deals no damage. That's why it currently like isn't very used and it kind of sucks. But you can get good damage on Herald of Ice over here. It's just with this setup it's pretty tough to make him like actually matter. And then I was even trying like putting like Chance to Poison and Bursting Plague on him like on the Herald of Ice, but the poisons he was dealing weren't very big, so it looked really sick, but it didn't feel like it was doing much. I also tried Herald of Thunder, and then with the same thing, I was using Lightning Infusion with Plague Finger. He also obviously wasn't doing very much damage. It's kind of nice, like, he could use like stuff to like apply effects, like additional like automate some stuff, like Innervate and all that kind of shit. But otherwise, like, it wasn't doing a ton, and Shock in particular on this build is not very helpful because Wither, which we max out from one cast of Eye of Winter, isn't a source of increased damage taken, and Shock isn't a source of increased damage taken, which are additive. So like Shock on like a build with no increased damage taken is like going to be 30% more damage or whatever your Shock effect is. But here it's going to be significantly less because we literally already have 50% increased damage taken, which would go up to like 80 with Shock, which is not 30% more damage. It's significantly less. So the other thing I tried to do is I tried to use Fire Infusion alongside Fiery Death, alongside Bursting Plague, and that actually felt pretty decent. You do need to scale a little bit of Ignite chance, but that was like some kind of in the middle thing, but I didn't feel like it was enough of an improvement to justify using a Plague Finger as opposed to the ton of single target damage you get from Snake Bites. So yeah, I think you could also potentially, like, if you get a quiver that has enough flat on it, you could also potentially try to use like an actual bow skill, like Lightning Arrow or Rain of Arrows or something like that as another option. But honestly, outside of that, I think the clear is just going to be okay, and you kind of just have to live with that. You get a ton of damage, and you got to have like crazy defense, like dump like most of your points in defense, like I have here, and be pretty happy with it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a fair trade, honestly. And then if you grind out maps, you can maybe save it for Queen of the Forest and switch to that kind of setup. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, like, please let me know. I was really sad. That's why it's like comical, like life last, because it's like, you know, it's kind of sad. I really did want to do like some Satchel stuff. So I'm really disappointed because I was actually pretty excited about that defensive layer. So that not working has kind of bummed me out. Yeah, the thing, I guess the last thing I should, I guess there's not really much to mention because it's like I was saying, like the quiver jewels with like the 15% quiver effect jewels that you would happily use. Once you are CI, those jewels are not that insane for you anyway, because I would rather have increased max energy shield jewels regardless. So kind of just like went a different direction so that I don't have to feel bad about not having those. So, you know, that was a way to get around it. But yeah, there's like a ton of different stuff you could do with this kind of build. And you don't have to be poisoned. Like, I actually am pretty confident the other concoction skills are also very good. And you could scale attack speed way harder because you don't have to worry about a poison limit. Like, man, it's like kind of crazy because like you can get a ton of accuracy from your quiver and then use the, what is it, the more accuracy gem. I was actually messing around with this, like the more accuracy support. Turn this into like a really good support, like Bullseye. Because you can end up with like 30,000 accuracy if you really want to. And then like you take this node and then you just have like a shit ton of attack speed. I bet that would feel pretty decent on like the cold concoction. You just like freeze everything and then your Herald of Ice maybe like Herald of Ice probably still not going to do very much damage because you have to have a quiver that would scale it. But you know, yeah, I think the other concoctions are definitely decent. Bleeding Concoction I'd also be kind of interested in because you would really not scale your attack speed and you just have like one big fat hit. The problem is, like with the other concoctions that I was worried about, is they don't have, like in this game, there's no bleed prolif, no bleed pops from like hemophilia gloves. Ignite prolif is technically in the game, but it takes like 2 seconds to activate, so it's not really in the game because mobs are way too fast for that to actually do anything. That one's kind of sad. So you're pretty much left with like the lightning or cold concoction, and I think those could be decent. So the Ignite one maybe is okay. I just feel like it's gonna be worse than poison. So it's probably comfier though, because you attack once. But really, with how much damage you deal with poison concoction, you attack once anyway. So you know what I mean? It's like you kind of just give up all your single target damage by using Ignite. So yeah, but yeah. If you guys have any questions or comments or suggestions or anything, please let me know. I'm really sorry this video is so long. Like I said, I'm still gonna include a mapping at the end. But all right, poops in, butts out. Like a terrible like mod. You don't want to run minus res, but character is pretty tanky, so just want to showcase that being totally fine. I've died literally one time while mapping so far. Character has felt very girthy, and yeah, CI is broken and so is ES, but you know, I assume that's apparent. I'm not going to do Delirium because it's pretty mediocre. Man, this is an empty map. What the heck? Where the hell are the mobs? But yeah, I did want to showcase mapping in particular because I consider it the weakest part of the build, like as the setup, because this is like a budget PConC build. So yeah, I should try not to pick up loot. So I'm doing a showcase. But this build is, I don't know how much less than a divine. Pretty much all of my gear so far has been defensive besides my quiver, which I spent 25 exalts on. But I will say leveling this character, after you get to level 32 and you can put on a +2 quiver, it was pretty much I was one-tapping bosses until I got my 4th ascendancy. Like literally from like level 32 till then, I was just very few times. I'm not going to set up an expedition. It's going to take too long. Expedition's been okay-ish for me. But, oh man, see, that's perfect time to talk about one of the annoyances with this build right there is you can't assign Peacock to PConC to a weapon set. So it means that if you want to like shield charge or leap slam or something in your offhand, you need to either cast another skill that's assigned to like your weapon set 1, which all 3 of these are, or actually press the weapon swap button after you shield charge. I'm pretty lazy, and I just have it assigned to a what's it called? Like all of my skills here, I just press them when I need to, because it'll switch back, and then I like animation cancel. Like I cast Despair, and then I roll so I don't actually have to sit around for the cast time. So I don't have a ton of cast speed. You can also just press the weapon swap button, but that's like a whole other button. It's the whole thing. So as you can see, like between like Grim Feast is ridiculous. Just having like double my ES right now is obscene. But what I was gonna say is one thing that is pretty apparent when I was doing this or like leveling this build, like breach is like where it's the most apparent, is if you don't use something like Corpse Walker boots, the problem with the clear on PConC is it's like not terrible. See, like you hit like 1 pack, it's usually generally that's okay. But when like monsters are coming at you from like 360 degrees, you're only killing in this like small cone right here, even with like Bursting Plague. Where is it? Doesn't like exactly fix that itself. But yeah, the thing is though, like so I don't know. I assume a lot of you guys are like me. I have not been mapping a ton, and I haven't really been playing in maps like a ton. So I actually don't have a ton of money. So I couldn't even afford a Queen of the Forest if I wanted to. And the problem with the decomposed boots, not these, wish I had them on me. I can show them back in my hideout. But they have 10% movement speed. And like I have 40% now, which is with 30% movement speed boots. And I have all the movement speed nodes I can get on the tree. What I experienced when I was using the decomposed boots is when I was doing breach, it felt like it helped a ton. But breach was just such a small percentage of my map that it literally was making my clear time worse. Oh, is he at proximity? No? I didn't know that he was a rare. They need to add back the rare highlighting. Honestly, I just like totally missed it. But I think this is probably good enough because I don't want to have to backtrack and then show you guys all that stuff because that's mapping right now is a bit rough with that. But yeah, so as you can see, clear, not the best, not terrible. Single target, very good. I think I have like about 2 to 3 mil right now. I just from looking at the DPS when I fought the what's it called? Not the Trial Master, the Sakema boss or whatever he's called.